Hello, welcome back to the Trick Hub channel. Today I'm going to focus on part of Module 2 in communication and management communication. Right. So I'm going to focus on listening skills. Listening skills. So you're saying listening is an art that one has to practice. That one has to practice. One has to practice listening skills. Right. Listening is a skill that one has to practice. So one has to practice on how to listen effectively. Right. So let's move on to advantages. Why is it important? What are the advantages of listening? Right. When we're talking about listening skills, we're talking about listening effectively to communication or to details. Listening effectively, effective listening effectively, right? So what are advantages when one listens effectively, right? You can find that time is saved at work, money is also saved, and energy is saved, right? For example, if an employee has effectively listened to instructions, it means that the time is saved. You are going to he or she is going to do the right thing at the right time, and the company resources will not be wasted. Hence, money is what is saved, and also energy is also saved by doing by not repeating the task 2 or 3 times because of maybe ineffective listening. You can find that there is an achievement of interpersonal relationship, right? The relationship between the employee and the manager or the supervisor will be better. Will be better if the employee listens effectively to instructions, right, between the employee and the supervisor or his superiors, let me say, right. And also, mistakes are avoided, and also misunderstandings are also avoided when one listens effectively. Mistakes will be avoided. So, meaning to say, and the employee will be able to do work properly. Mistakes will be eliminated, right? They are avoided, right? And also you can find that effective listening can help the organization to create a relationship of trust or openness, even of sensitivity. And lastly, problems can be identified, right? When one listens effectively, right? Problems will be identified, right? It helps to identify problems, right? Right. So let's move on to types of listening skills, right? Types of listening skills. So there are 3 types of listening skills. There are 3 types of listening skills. The first one that I'm going to discuss is what you call attentive listening. That's the first listening skill that I'm going to discuss, right? So attentive listening is when you are listening for the main purpose or goal of the speaker's message. What does the speaker want to say? What is the main purpose? What is the reason for his speech? What is the goal? What does he want to achieve? Right? As soon as possible. When you are attentively listening, you are listening to the speaker's main purpose or main goal as soon as possible. Right. So you find out what the central idea of the conversation is, and you try to convince yourself that whatever I'm going to hear is relevant and important to you personally. Hence, it will help you to resist distractions. You will not be bothered with maybe a pop-in message on your phone because when you have convinced yourself that what I'm going to hear is very relevant and also important. So you resist distractions. You resist distractions, right? Attentive listening. It is when you listen to the speaker's main purpose, the main goal, as soon as possible. So you find out what the central idea of the conversation is, and you convince yourself that this information is very relevant and also important. Hence, it will help you to resist distractions. You won't be distracted. You will not be distracted by maybe what is happening around you. You will be concentrating on what the speaker is saying. You'll be concentrating on what the speaker is saying. Right. Attentive listening. You listen to the main purpose or a goal as soon as possible. Attentive listening. Right. So I'm going to move on to the next type of listening, which is what you call appreciative listening. Appreciative listening, right? So here, one listens first and then reacts to the speaker's message. So meaning to say, the receiver will have to listen before reacting to the message, before asking a question or before interacting to the speaker's message. The receiver has to listen attentively, appreciatively to the message, Listen first and then ask questions later. One who listen first and then ask questions later. One does not interrupt does not interrupt the speaker's message. One does not interrupt the speaker's message, right? So the receiver listens first to the message, and then once the speaker is done, he will ask questions, he will react, then he will react. Right. So you need to try to see an idea or a concept from the speaker's point of view. You need to see the idea or the concept from the speaker's point of view first. What is his idea and what is his concept or his point of view? Right. So do not be impatient and interrupting the speaker before completing a message. You're not supposed to be impatient. You need to wait patiently so that the speaker will be done with the message, right? Complete the message, and then after that, you will react, right? So do not be distracted in differences in what? In perception or a personality or a status or a culture. One does not need to be distracted in differences in what? Perception. People have different perceptions. Personality, right? There are two main types of personality, introvert and extrovert. There are people who are talkative and there are people who are reserved in the status and the culture, right, of the speaker, right? Attentive listening. When one listens first to details and then you react to the speaker's message. Attentive listening. Attentive listening. One listens first to the speaker's main purpose. You listen first. And then you react after the speaker's message, right? So lastly, I'm going to discuss another type of listening, which is what you call critical listening. Critical listening, whereby you analyze critically, you evaluate and judge the speaker's message throughout the conversation, right? So here you are well engaged, you are concentrating, you are paying more attention to the conversation. So you critically you evaluate, you judge the speaker's message throughout the conversation. So here, one has to try to establish the intention of the message and the tone that is being used to convey the message. One has to try to establish the intention of the message and the tone. What tone was used by the speaker? Was it a harsh tone? Was it rude? Was it a kind tone? Right, you need to know, right, the intention and the tone that is being used to convey the message, right? You then double check your understanding of what the speaker has said by asking questions. You double check your understanding of what the speaker has said by asking questions. That's what you call critical listening. Critical listening. One has to analyze critically. One has to analyze critically and evaluate and judge the speaker's message throughout the conversation, right? So what are you going to do? What are you doing? You try to establish the intention. What was the intention? What was the intention of the speaker? What was the tone that was used to convey the message? To convey the message. You double check your understanding of what the speaker has said by asking questions. By asking questions, right? So that's it for today. Thank you so much. Make sure that you have subscribed so that you can receive notification each time I posted. Have a good day. Stay blessed.